Hello, Algebra 1 students. This is Mrs. Moslick, and we are reviewing before you take the quiz on 8.1 and 8.2 on polynomials. So let's go through these review problems, and these are real similar to your quiz questions. So write these down. You can use them for your quiz. Just make sure that you are understanding everything. If you are not, send an email to either me or your teacher. Okay, so number 1, write the polynomial in standard form. That means we have to deal with the highest exponent first. The highest exponent is this x to the 6. So we're going to put that first. Then we're going to go all the way down. So then we have this plus 3x to the 5th. Note that there is no negative in front of the 3, so that is a plus 3x to the 5th. Next number is, for the exponent, is squared. So plus 7x squared. Then we see x to the 1, which is just this minus 2x, and then minus 3. That is your final answer, so circle it. On the quiz, you're going to be asked to circle your final answer in red. So let's just kind of get in the habit of doing that. Question 2, classify each polynomial. Linear means just like a line, y equals mx plus b, so x. Quadratic is like a parabola. You'll learn that later. It's an x squared. Cubic is x cubed. So again, linear is x, quadratic is x squared, cubic is x cubed. Now, these words monomial means there's one term. So one term, there's no plus or minus for the monomials. For the binomials, I'm going to change colors so it's a little easier for you to see. Bi means two, so two terms. That means there should be a plus or a minus between two terms. Okay, so let's first of all just identify where the linear values are. So linear would be C and it would be A. Now C has just one term, so we are going to use C, that's a linear monomial. It's a line with just one term. A, it's a line, but there are two terms because there's a 3x is a term and a 2, and they're combined with that plus. So there's a binomial, two terms. So now we are done with those two. Let's now go to the quadratics. So quadratics are where you see a squared. So these are your squared, the yellow ones. And so D has one term. So one term will be monomial. So that's D. And then for a quadratic binomial, that's a quadratic. So it's this yellow, but there are two terms here. So that's B. Our last values are cubic. So obviously E and F both have an x cubed term. So those are cubics. F, there's just one term. So that's a monomial. And E, there are two terms, so that's a binomial. Problem 3, multiply and simplify. We're going to distribute the x to both terms in the second pair of parentheses. So that's an x times x is x squared, and then x times negative 9 is minus 9x. Then we are going to distribute the 9 to both pieces in the second parentheses. So we have a plus 9 times x, so plus 9x, and then plus a 9 times negative 9 is a negative 81. So now we're going to add like terms. So we have an x squared minus 9x plus 9x is 0x. So we have no x term, and then minus 81. That is our answer, so we're going to circle it in red. That's what you're going to do in Desmos on your quiz. Problem 4, we're going to distribute the 4x first. So we'll multiply 4x to both terms in the parentheses, the second parentheses. So we have 4x times 3x. 4x times 3x, and then plus 4x times 2. Then we're going to distribute the negative 1 to both terms in parentheses. So negative 1 times 3x, and then plus a negative 1 times 2. So we'll simplify this. 4x times 3x is 12x squared, plus 4x times 2 is 8x, minus 1 times 3 is 3, so 3x, and then negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Now we'll add like terms. We have x's that are like terms. So we have a 12x squared plus 8x minus 3x is 8 minus 3 is 5. So plus 5x minus 2. That is my answer, so I'll circle it in red pen, just like in Desmos on your quiz. We are going to distribute the 3x to both pieces of the second pair of parentheses. So we have 3x times x, and then plus 3x times 3. Then we're going to distribute the negative 3 to both pieces of the second pair of parentheses. So negative 3 times x, and then plus a negative 3 times 3. Or I could have said the plus a negative 3 times x. It doesn't matter if you say plus a negative 3x or minus 3x. We'll simplify. So we have a 3x squared plus 9x minus 3x minus 9. Add like terms. The x's are the like terms. So we have 3x squared. 9 minus 3 is 6. So plus 6x. And then minus 9. That's our answer, so just like the quiz, circle your answer in red. Problem number 6. This is actually the easiest problem so far, I think. We're just distributing the negative. This is not like our other problems where it's a parentheses times parentheses. If it's parentheses times parentheses, then like let's say it's x plus 1, x minus 2. That's where you're going to distribute. You're going to have your FOIL, your first, outer, inner, last, or you're distributing the x first, then you're distributing the 1. That's not what this problem is. This problem, there's a minus in between. So this is actually an easier problem. We'll just get rid of the parentheses. We have 4x squared plus 5x minus 3, and we'll just distribute the negative. So minus 4x minus 2, meaning it's like we're saying plus a negative 1. So negative 1 times 4x is negative 4x, and negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Now we'll add like terms. So 5x and 4x are the same term. So we have like terms. So 4x squared plus 5x minus 4x is plus 1x. And then negative 3 minus 2 is minus 5. You can leave your answer like this, or you can write it as 4x squared plus x minus 5. You can put a 1 in front of the x, or you don't have to. Okay, this problem is just like the previous problem, like number 6. We're just distributing this negative, so we'll multiply every term in the second pair of parentheses by a negative. So we'll get rid of both pairs of parentheses. We have a 4x cubed plus 3x squared minus x plus 1, and then minus 8x squared minus x, and then plus 1, because a negative times a negative is a plus. So now let's add like terms. I'll color code. I have the x squares, I have the x's, and then we have our numbers. Okay, so let's add like terms. So we have a 4x cubed. With the x squares, we have 3 of those minus 8 of those. So that's minus 5 of those x squares. And then minus x is really minus 1x, and minus x is really like minus 1x. So minus 1x is a negative 1 minus a 1 is negative 2 of those x's, and then 1 plus 1 is 2. That's our answer. Ooh, we'll use a red color to circle our final answer. Now, let's say I did the same type of problem. So hold on. Okay, you can watch me do number 7. Let's say number 7. So we already just did number 7. But number 7, what if it was worded instead of minus, there was a plus in between those? Let me go through that. You're distributing the plus, which does not change signs. You just get rid of parentheses. So you have a 4x cubed plus 3x squared minus x, which is minus 1x, plus 1. And then plus 8x squared plus x, so plus 1x, and then minus 1. So every piece or every term inside the second pair of parentheses stays the same, but we're still adding like terms here. So we'll add the x squares, we'll add the x's, and then we'll add the numbers. Okay, so let's go ahead and add. So we have a 4x cubed. Now let's add these squares. We have 3 of those plus 8 of those is plus 11 of those x squares. Now we're going to add the x's. Ooh, wait a minute. I have a negative 1x plus 1x. I have 0 x's. So you don't have to write this. I have 0 x's. And then 1 minus 1 is 0. So you don't have to write this, but our final answer is 4x cubed plus 11x squared. That's it. That's our answer. So look at your sheet. See your problem number 7 with a minus in between the two parentheses. And look at this second type of number 7 where there's a plus inside parentheses. You get a different answer. You are not multiplying the two pairs of parentheses here. We're just adding like terms. Okay, problem 8 is the most challenging problem because this is multiplying. So we're going to distribute the 2x into each piece of the second pair of parentheses, and then we'll distribute the 6. So let's go ahead and distribute the 2x. So 2x times 3x squared, and then plus 2x times negative x, and then plus 2x times negative 4. Then we're going to distribute the 6. So we'll multiply 6 by each piece of the second pair of parentheses. So plus 6 times 3x squared plus 6 times negative x plus 6 times negative 4. Now we'll multiply. So we have in our first term 2x times 3x squared. I have 2 times 3 is 6. X to the 1 plus 2 is x to the 3. Second term, I have a 2x times negative 1x, so 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, so negative 2, and I have 2 x's, so x squared. Next term, I have a 2 times negative 4, it's negative 8, and then we have an x there. Next term is 18 because of 6 times 3, so plus 18x squared. And then 6 times negative x is just negative 6x, and then minus 24 because 6 times negative 4 is negative 24. Okay, now add like terms. So the x squared terms add. You're going to add the x's and then the numbers, there's just one. So I have a 6x cubed. Negative 2x squared plus 18x squared is plus 16x squared. And then minus 14x and then minus 24. That's my final answer. So I'll circle it with a red pen, getting you guys ready for the quiz. Okay, just 2 more problems. These are fun. I think I really like this problem number 9. 3x minus 6 squared. What does squared means? That means you are multiplying that item twice. So I'm multiplying 3x minus 6 twice. So 3x minus 6. So you must write that out. And now we'll distribute. So we have our 3x multiplied by each item of the second pair of parentheses. So that's 3x times 3x, and then plus 3x times negative 6. And then we'll distribute the negative 6 to both items of the second pair of parentheses. So minus 6 times 3x, and then minus 6 times negative 6. Simplifying, I have a 3x times 3x is 9x squared. I have a 3x times negative 6. 3 times negative 6 is negative 18, so minus 18x. 6 times 3 is 18, so minus 18x. And then a negative times a negative is a positive, 36. Adding like terms, negative 18 plus a negative 18 is negative 36. So we have a 9x squared minus 36x plus 36. That is our final answer, and that is what we circle. Okay, number 10 is our last problem of this review. Let's factor out the numbers first. So 14 is 2 times 7, and 36 is 2 times 18. And 7 and 18 have no common factor, so we'll take out a 2. In terms of the x's, I'm going to take out the the smaller of the two numbers, so I can take out at most 3x's. With the y's, I can take out at most 2y's, and the second term does not have a z. So I just found out what our greatest common factor is, and that is the GCF is 2x cubed y squared. So now I'm asking myself the question of what times 2 will give us 36? That's an 18. I took out 3 x's. How many more x's do I need to get 6? I need 3 more. And I took out 2 y's. How many more do I need to get 3? I need 1 more. And I took out no z's, so I still need to have this 1z. Then minus. I'll change colors. 2 times a negative 7 will give us that negative 14. I took out 3 x's, so I have no more 3's. So, meaning I have no more x's. So I could say x to the 0, but I just don't need any more x's. And I took out 2 y's, and I only needed 2 y's. So we're basically done with this problem. Let's just write it a little nicer. This is a 2x cubed y squared times the quantity 18x cubed. Instead of saying y to the 1, we'll just say y, and instead of z to the 1, we'll just put z, and then minus 7. And that's it. That's our answer, so we will circle it. If you have questions, email your teacher. If you don't have questions but you're not completely sure how to do these, rework these problems again and you can re-look at my video. If you're ready to go, then go ahead and take the quiz on Desmos.